I really want to welcome Gerard, Cheong and Alison Baker to the stage. Gerard and Alison are going to give us a good view about setting the scene, scaling impact and achieving resilience. And they are from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade Water Section and Water for Women Fund. So welcome to the stage, Gerard and Alison.
Thank you. I don't know where Gerard is. Okay, Alison's here, but Gerard's not, and he was kicking off, of course. So can we see whether we can get him, or do you want... Maybe what I'll do while we're sorting out technology...
Alison, we hasn't responded from Gerard. Do you want to kick off into your section?
No, because, well, I'll just have to step on his toes and give some of his, because we'd actually laid it out that way. He was just on the line a second ago, so he's not. Anyway, what I'll do, I'll kickstart, and if he joins, then I'll let him actually take over. So I can just see him there. He's sort of joined on the table. Anyway, thank you everybody for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. We do have this 8 fantastic pictures that will follow Gerard and myself. And as we were just introduced, I'm the fund manager of the Water for Women Fund, and Gerard is the assistant director in the water section in DFAT. And we're really happy to actually be a part of this whole conversation, starting to learn a new language, but recognizing we're very much on the start of a journey. So this session's theme is very much relevant to the new aid policy, Partnerships for Recovery, Australia's COVID-19 development response.
Alison, sorry for interrupting, but
yeah, that's okay.
Gerard says go right ahead. He can't make it on.
Oh, right. Okay.
You've got the floor.
Technology's stuck. Okay, I'll go. So in this new policy, the 3 sort of key principles are stability, resilience, and prosperity. So very much relevant to the conversation this afternoon. A lot of the DFAT posts at the moment are very much working on their COVID response plans in line with the new policy. And many of these policies or plans actually have have WASH actually included in them. Sustainable Development Goal 6, clean water and sanitation, isn't a standalone goal, and it's already been flagged that we also need to be talking about SDG 14 as well. But SDG 6 very much is a foundational goal, and very much a lot of the other goals actually build on that. Just sort of quick examples, reducing poverty is kind of senseless if you don't get safe water and sanitation to poor people. It's hard to get sustainable cities if you can't separate sort of water and sanitation. So we've heard a lot of numbers already today. The Australian aid investment in water is about 130 million a year, and that includes both water sanitation, hygiene, as well as water resource management, which very much dwarfs the 140 billion that's required annually to achieve the SDG 6s. So lots of statistics. There's a lot of people that actually don't have access to water and sanitation, but there's a lot that has actually achieved it over the last few years. So very much sort of a dynamic sector. So that's a good thing. We're going in the right direction, but we do actually need to do it faster. I think we'd all agree water is really important to all of us actually in this room in various forms. It is life. We can't escape that. And it means the demand for WASH and WASH services is very much sort of in demand. From an Australian perspective, we very much understand the importance of WASH. It is a strong commitment within the aid program, and very much sort of recognise that every dollar you do invest in WASH has that economic return of about $4. So every dollar invested is about $4 of economic return. We've heard a lot about blended finance in the previous panel. It's part of the toolkit. We recognise it isn't necessarily easy, as Dina said, or we would have been actually doing it. But part of our interest in being here is actually creating those opportunities, starting to actually learn that language and make sure that one person sitting across the table, they're actually talking to each other in the same language, and they're not talking in parallel to each other. So this has really sort of given us an opportunity at Innovate for Water to broaden our thinking and connections, and really start to open up those discussions. So we really want to we want to learn what is the language of investors, what is the business case, how do we frame a good, sound, bankable opportunity. A lot of the numbers that I've just flagged were sort of pre-COVID. COVID has actually exacerbated a lot of things as well, but it's also really, I suppose, helped us make it really clear and value the importance of actually finding solutions. Effective hand hygiene, getting water infrastructure at point of care in health facilities, and that real exacerbation of the impact on marginalised groups as well. So as we look at that theme, sort of resilience to prosperity, it is actually really important that we do acknowledge those inequalities and find solutions that aren't just for the majority. It is resilience and prosperity for all. It's a huge challenge. We know that, but it's an important thing to do. And I think a number of the pitches today start to actually operate in that space. Something we very much recognise as part of Water for Women, but I think as many water practitioners and finance people, we can't do it alone. It requires a lot of stakeholders and a lot of partnerships, and that's very central to the Water for Women Fund. Using that government approach to work with sort of donors, governments, local institutions, NGOs, rights holder organisations, and also private sector businesses as well. And by looking at each other's strengths, how can we actually start to deliver on socially inclusive WASH? So we're hoping is sort of part of what we're doing, and one of our reasons again for sort of being here today is through a program like Water for Women, and there's others around too, but I think this one is quite unique in certain ways as well, but starting to reduce some of those barriers for investors, some of those barriers that would inhibit blended finance actually being a part of actually what we do. As an example, what we're doing, the fund sort of strengthening WASH systems, including those linkages between WASH and WRM, which we'll hear some pictures on that, building that enabling environment, building on evidence to try and reduce some of those risks, putting that gender and social inclusion at the core, and starting to build the resilience of people, communities, institutions, and governments. So I guess from our perspective, we sort of feel we're part of the solution. It's very complex, it's very evolving, but we can't do it alone. And I think the pitches that we're about to sort of hear start to demonstrate the value of adding more partnerships to what we're actually doing. I'm inspired by the diversity of a lot of them. Some of them have actually are Water for Women Fund partners, have started their work under the fund, but others have been supported by other donors or even predecessors of this current Water for Women Fund. Yeah, no problem. So the diversity you're going to hear from shortly, there's some great ideas, but the issue is how do we actually make it investable? This afternoon, we wanted to start to create some of those new partnerships, create those that space where we can attract investors into this space. And as we've heard in the panel, start to actually take them to scale. We hope we've made our contribution in terms of creating that enabling environment, reducing that risk. And if we can, I didn't tell people where to flip to the last slide, please. In an environment where WASH and water is so scarce, and this last slide will very much sort of indicate that it's an extremely rare scarce resource, we do need to manage it well. So we do encourage those people sort of in the room or in the web to look at the opportunities, listen to the pitches that we have today, take that opportunity to invest in businesses that actually contribute to people's resilience and prosperity. We're very excited about these initiatives. As a fund, we really want to help navigate through those challenges and constraints that often stop these partnerships from succeeding, learning how to speak that common language, establish that business case, and operate in a new way. So in that context, I'd like to pass on to our colleagues to actually deliver their pitches this afternoon. Thank you very much, everybody. And apologies for not watching my slides. So be it. You can see them later.
That's perfectly fine, Alison. I think you did rather well. Talk about some good points, and thanks for your time. That's been terrific.